Today we're going to make a metal sign out of rebar, railroad spikes, horseshoes, and round bar. This is what the final product will look like, but we're not quite there yet. So let's get building. So I just got the round bar here clamped up in my vise. This project is all about pouring the heat to it because there's some tight bends that we got to make, and the more heat you put into them, the easier it's going to be to bend those bends. And rebar, when I get to bending the rebar, it's pretty brittle. So one of the bends I tried going a little too quickly, and it ended up splitting. Then I had to weld it back together, but no harm, no foul. So just pouring the heat to it and giving it gentle pressure, kind of moving the heat down as I go. I'm making an E here. This is 3/8 inch round bar. It's pretty easy to work with, pretty easy to bend, so nothing serious. Just kind of, this project's all about visualizing it in your head, using that imagination, so you really can't go wrong anywhere as long as you're happy with the final product. So this was a 3-foot section of bar. I'm not going to need anywhere nearly that much. You can see there in the vise I get another piece of thicker round bar. That's going to actually help me when I do some of the bending. It's going to help me make sure I got a decent radius and not having to have a flat spot where those vise jaws are holding it. After making this video, I noticed that I keep using these little number metal cutoffs I got as a hammer when I got a big old mini sledge sitting there right on the bench. Kind of made me laugh. So you can see there we got a little bit of a cherry going in that metal. Definitely need that when you're making these tight radius bends like this. Nice elbow shot. So here you can see kind of got the start of an E going, and just gonna give it a little character on that bottom bend there. Don't want it to be straight and flat like that. I want to give it a little movement. Like I said, I mean, if you want it straight, keep it straight. This is all just about giving people an idea that get out there, get out in the garage and do something, and just kind of go with the flow and go with where your imagination takes you. And I think it's just that's the fun part of doing this kind of stuff. So I bent that leg up there. Now I'm gonna heat up in a different spot a little bit farther down so I can bend it back down, and that's gonna give it kind of a little swoop to it. Realize that metal's pretty hot, so I'm using my new favorite tool, the number 2. Who does number 2 work for? There you go, giving me that little downward swoop. See, you got a little movement there now. Don't like how the top of this E's looking here, so once again using my new favorite shop tool, this number 2 here. Kind of hook it around and I can use it to pull up. Worked out pretty decent. So we got ourselves an E. I'm just going to cut off these little excess legs and calling it good on this letter. The E and the L are definitely the two hardest ones to make, just because you're the ones that you got to bend, and it's all freehand and free forming it. So here we go. We got some 1/2 inch rebar. This is a pretty big stick that I realized I should have just cut it down instead of fighting with it, but not that smart. Getting a little Instagram photo there. Check me out on my Instagram at the provider YT. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to this video, please. I really do appreciate everybody that subscribes and watches. Also, if you check down in the description below, I have links to the tools I use through Amazon, and if you so choose to buy one of those, I do get a little bit of profit from that, about 5%. And then I also got a little merchandise store going through Teespring. So if you check that out and like my designs, please go ahead and get one and rep the provider gear. So this rebar is just, I mean, man, this stuff just soaks up the heat. And like I said, it's pretty brittle. If it's got any kind of imperfection in it, it's just going to start cracking. And once it's got a little crack in it, you'd be surprised that it doesn't take a whole lot of strength to just rip it right in two. So just heat. That's all we can do here. This is a real tight bend. Pretty much going in 360 degrees here. This is going to be the top of the L. I want to kind of have a little swoop to it up there to give it some visual interest up top. So there you can see the swoop. And I already cut that leg off. So now this is the bottom leg of the L. I just got my little propane bottle there, kind of resting up against the vise so I don't have to hold it. And it probably sat there for 2-3 minutes before I started bending here. And what this is going to do is just kind of give me a little visual interest on the bottom of this L, something that it's going to have some definition between all the letters. And that's the whole thing when you're doing this, is take whatever idea that you got in your head and try to tweak it and make it as interesting as possible, so that when someone sees it, it's not just going to be plain Jane, and they can kind of I don't know, just take it all in. So here I got the other two pieces of the ledgers. And I was making this as for my wife for a Christmas present, and using these horseshoes as shims to hold up those railroad spikes. Just giving them a pretty decent tack there on the back. I'm only going to be welding those spikes on the back, and the same with the horseshoes. I don't want to see any welds that we don't have to see. That was kind of my whole goal, is everything just looks like it's stuck together, kind of cool looking. So then you kind of line up the horseshoes there and tack those together, and that gives you your O, and that makes it pretty easy. And then just chipping that off, and that's it. I mean, we're done. So now I just get a layout here, and I left the leg of the L real long so that it gave me plenty of room to work with, and I could get everything spaced how I wanted it to be spaced. And then once I get it there, just tacking on the back side here, and getting all these letters tacked on, and just kind of seeing how they feel. Use whatever you got to make it work, using my chipping hammer there. So it doesn't take much. This thing's not going to take a lot of abuse. So here I am, just cutting off the leg of that L and getting it to where I want. There you go, a little shot. And using one of the scrap pieces of that round bar that I cut off, can give it a little kickstand. That way it can self-support, and you can sit it up on something. So like I said, use what you got, and using my welding brush there to kind of prop this thing up, get everything placed, trying to get that bar tucked back in there so you can't see the weld, hitting it on both sides there, and then I can pop it right there in the middle. And there we go. That's where it ended up. My love for her on top of a cabinet. So I appreciate you guys watching. Shoot me a subscribe if you like the video, And thanks a bunch. Hope you all have a good day and get out in the shop and make something.